Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your latest instalment of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast, hosted by myself, Craig Gray, the independent Rangers podcast made for fans, by fans, and all of our content is free. You can get us over on the website at gersnet.co.uk, where you can see the forum, articles, and other posts, as well as a history archive. You can get us over on Twitter at Gersnet Online as well. Just before I go and introduce my guest, I need to give you a message first from our sponsor, Forrest Precision Engineering. They are a subcontract Glasgow-based engineering company who have been a big commercial supporter of Rangers for many years, and we're absolutely delighted that they're backing your podcast. You can get them over at forrestprecisioneng.com. And you can also visit the Forrest Precision Executive Lounge, a stunning new hospitality area within the historic main stand. For information on how to book this unique and intimate space, you can email the club via hospitality@rangers.co.uk. So here today, obviously, to discuss the 1-8 draw with Aberdeen, Rangers failing to capitalise on drop points from Celtic yesterday. Introduce my guest first, Grant Mackay. Grant, don't think I've been on with you since the start of the season, roughly, and a lot's changed since August, hasn't it?
Certainly has, for the better though. But I'm good. I'm just a bit deflated after what I had to watch today, after what happened yesterday. But yeah, doing okay.
Aye, we move on. Also as well, Mr. David Fraser. David, sullen today, but how you keeping regardless?
Aye, so one a day, Craig. How you doing, Craig? How you doing, Grant? Good evening to all the listeners and the viewers. Aye, just a case of deja vu. Again, the day, an opportunity missed, but I'm sure we'll get into it.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head, David. An opportunity missed. Grant, I mean, that is obviously the headline, opportunity missed after what happened with Celtic yesterday. The thing is, though, you will get people that say, we've scored a 90 whatever plus minute equaliser. Pittodrie's a tough place to go. I mean, this sort of opportunity missed, how big do you think the opportunity is that we have missed? Is it something that, we kind of just need to take and just say, look, games like this happen? Or is it a bigger problem than that?
It's a bit of both, Craig, for me. It's a missed opportunity after Celtic yesterday, for sure. But it seems to happen to us a lot. You're saying Pittodrie's a tough place to go. It seems to be a tough place to go just for us. I mean, we've been, for the last 5 years, I think we've won less than 40% or 50% of the games there. So we seem to struggle up there. Nobody else really seems to struggle up there. So I think it was a missed opportunity. Celtic did not drop many points. We've seen it over the last couple of seasons, and it was ideal for us just to get right back into the title race, especially with us going to Parkhead in a few weeks' time. It was a missed opportunity. I can't believe after yesterday everybody was buzzing. I thought the players would be buzzing as well, and we just didn't start correctly at all. 4 minutes in, they're right through a pass, and then 5 minutes later, exactly the same thing, a long ball, a flick on, and they're in behind, and it's a good finish. So it's just frustrating me. It's definitely a missed opportunity for me. But if you miss that many chances and don't defend at the back, then that's what happens.
You've hit the nail on the head there. It's I tweeted earlier, if you can't score goals and you can't defend, you can't expect to win league titles. It might sound oversimplified, but sometimes the simplest things in life are also true. David, this match day has been one this season that has kind of shaped the complexity of the title race when you think about it. Rangers, Aberdeen and Celtic against Motherwell. I remember when we were going to the Aberdeen game earlier in the season, as bad as we were playing, Motherwell had equalised in the last minute and we were 4 points behind at that time. By the end of that day, we're 7 points behind. After Celtic scored the last minute equaliser, we get gubbed off Aberdeen, and obviously Michael Beale's gone after that. So if we go into that point that day where Motherwell equalise, I'm not expecting to go 7 points behind that day. And similarly again today, you see Motherwell equalise in the last minute. I fully expected us to win and win that game today. On Friday, I predicted a relatively comfortable win. I felt that if we played our game, we should have came out on top, and I thought we were good in spells, but overall, it was just ruined missed chances really for me, David.
Aye, Craig, what a difference a fortnight makes. I think most days we're going into this game feeling a wee bit more enthused about our chances of coming away from Pittodrie with the maximum points, but only a couple of minutes in, as Grant rightly said, the scene was set. Lethargic, wind-paced, setting to the ball. All the kind of foibles that were present under Mick Beale came back with a vengeance today. And I'll stick my neck out here. They don't look like title winners, that team. I think that's it's the same characters, the same bottlers, just not producing the goods. And if that was a team you've seen after the first couple of minutes, not necessarily the goal, but you've seen after the first few minutes, if that was a team that was trying to close the gap to potentially down to 3 points if they'd won their game in hand, you could have fooled me. I thought the performance was dire, certainly that first half. When Graham Shinney is allowed to kind of manage the middle of the park in the manner that he did, leaving aside the fact that Nick Walsh probably should have booked him for persistent fouling. Yeah, I think that's a damning indictment on that Rangers midfield. I know the manager was hamstrung with injuries and had to play Cifuentes, but I'm looking at John Lundstrom, Craig, and I know for the first time we pointed the finger at him with question marks about his contribution. Mm-hmm. And if he's a player that's playing for a contract, because apparently he's settled here and he likes it here and his family like it here, so again, he could have fooled me. I thought the performance was lacking, and that's before you even get to the schoolboy defending the square centre half positioning for their goal, even allowing for the fact that they had a warning via a run for an even deeper position in the midfield with the Slovakian striker a few minutes before. I just thought it was poor. More of the excesses of previous regimes. I mean, it was like going back to watching Pedro Caixinha Rangers stuff. I thought it was poor, mate.
No, it was. I mean, in fairness to Pedro Caixinha, he went to Pittodrie once and he got them 3-0, so he's got 100% record up there. Grant, David kind of made a decent point, like about missed chances there, because more so the performance, right? Because we can look at the stats, right, and the stats show we had the vast majority of possession. I think 10 shots and targets. XG, which has appeared the last couple of years, which I don't fully understand, was apparently really good as well, right? And the manager said it was really good. The thing is, though, we didn't really look like scoring. It had the hallmark of one of those games where we needed just something to get us out of jail, and eventually that penalty, that slip up and defensive ability for the Aberdeen defender gives us that opportunity. But when I look at the chances, I mean, I think Balogun he's missed 2 glaring ones. The first one, especially for me, if he picks a side, it's in the net. The second one, it hits the bar. It's a more difficult one, fair enough. And then, obviously, we've got a Lammers chance, but that's not until, after we've scored. That wasn't before we scored. Lawrence hit the bar as well. Lawrence had a couple of attempts, but as much as they were good attempts, they weren't like attempts that he should be scoring. They were kind of speculative efforts that nearly came off. So I think maybe the quality of chance creation just wasn't there. And you look at the Aberdeen one, they were clean through and goal twice and they scored for one of them. They should have scored for the other one. So that's extremely worrying defensively anyway, that a long ball at the pitch can do that to us. And David was talking about Lundstrom's performance, and I want to speak about the team, Grant. So I said in our group chat earlier, as soon as the team got announced, I was a wee bit worried about Cifuentes playing. Now, I actually thought, and I'll say this, I thought Cifuentes had a great game, actually. But for me, it was kind of setting your stall out a bit early, playing with 2 sitting midfielders. I felt we've been playing, pretty well. Just go out and play your game. Do you know what I mean? I would have been quite happy to see Lundstrom start with Cantwell and Lawrence. We're doing this thing of playing Cantwell on the right again, which just is not working at all. I thought we should have went with 2 wingers. He's dropped a guy, Ross McCausland, who's been playing really well got a call up to the national team, and then he's dropped him sort of out of nowhere. I don't know. I don't really know why he's done that. Maybe it's to sort of manage him or whatever. But as far as I'm concerned, mate, if you're playing well and you're on a good run of form, whether you're 16 or you're 40, play. Do you know what I mean? So I felt maybe the way that we set up, we were just a wee bit too defensive, trying to set off them. And for me, Grant, it's just a case of these games against Aberdeen, the games against Hibs, it's like the better teams in the league out with Celtic. I think we take these games far too seriously.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I said as well before the weekend, I would have played Cantwell, Lawrence and Lundstrom in the middle. Give us no attacking options, get goals in midfield. This two sitting midfielders, I don't like it at all, especially at home as well. We do it with Jack and Lundstrom. You're losing that attacking threat there. You could put somebody else further forward. You see Celtic doing it all the time with the three. We've got McGregor sitting the two, can go, and O'Reilly or Hatate, they can go. So yeah, I think we miss a trick with that. Just going back on your point there about the chances we had. The problem was the chances we had, they all fell to somebody you don't want to fall to. We didn't fall to our striker. You know, Danilo didn't have a sniff all day. And Aberdeen, their number one striker's right through, he puts it away with a great finish. That's the difference. We didn't really get clean-cut chances for Danilo or Sima. It was all shots from Lawrence outside the box, two headers from Balogun. So, we did create chances, but nothing really clear-cut enough. But again, another day we could have won the game. Going back to Cantwell, yes, he's wasted out on the right-hand side for me. We saw him at the end of last season playing the number 10 role, running games, with his energy driving us on. He's absolutely wasted out the right-hand side, and he's been kind of hung out to dry a bit. I don't see why they can't play him centrally with Lawrence, and as you said, put McCausland out wide for natural pace, or even Matondo, because their pace is devastating, and they've created so many chances the last few weeks. So it was a strange one for me. Cifuentes played okay, but at half-time, we're 1-0 down. I would have taken them off then and put Cantwell centrally and brought McCausland on and had pace and had a go, because you can see Aberdeen winning in the game. Starting to tire as well, the last 20, 30 minutes. So, yeah, just one of these days, but we've seen one of these days so many times with these players in this squad.
Mm-hmm. No, you're spot on, mate. And you could see the difference as soon as Matondo came on, but you had two wide players. You seen the difference. Matondo came on for Sima, but when McCausland came on as well, sort of the last 10 minutes, you seen the difference, and that was when we had probably our best spell of pressure throughout the game. I've got to admit, I was astonished that he never changed anything at half time, because there was maybe a period in that first half, maybe 20 minutes to 35 minutes, where I thought we were decent. But again, the chances that we created out with Balogun's header, which was from a set piece, I don't think that they were sort of quality chances. David Cantwell, like he's someone who has not been his season so far, right? And I know he's been played out of position. There was a moment earlier on in the game where, let's face it, he's dived right. You can't make two bones about it. For me, it's embarrassing, to be honest. It's not really the right way to go about things. Or the way I like to say it, if you're going to dive, at least do it properly. But I suppose nowadays with like VAR and stuff like that, can you really get away with it? But it was just, for me, it was so blatant, and it was just like a microcosm. It just, for me, just summed up like a lot of these players in the team, where it's like just going down so easily. They're not going in and putting that effort required. And I just think, I mean, he was all over the place today. Do you think that is got a lot to do with where he's playing in the pitch, or do you think there might be a bigger issue with him there at the moment?
That's a difficult one. I'll nail my colours to the mast. I don't rate Todd Cantwell. I don't see what all the fuss about him is. I think he's ineffectual. I think he fancies himself as a ball player. He's quite tidy on the ball, don't get me wrong. He's obviously got skill. But I think he's ineffectual. I get what Grant was saying there about him being wasted out on the right. I would tend to agree with that, but I think he's overhyped. And I'd go as far as to say, I'm starting to wonder whether we should be calling him Fraud Cantwell, never mind Todd Cantwell, because he's not doing a lot. I mean, he's been hyped up amongst sections of the support as being, like, you know, a class act. I mean, he looks to me every inch an English Championship level player, and that goes for a lot of that team. To be quite honest with you, Craig, I'm fed up watching English Championship level players who are fractionally better than ordinary masquerading as Rangers players, and we'll no do what we purport to do in terms of winning trophies whilst we've got that level of player in the squad.
I mean, see as well, David, it's like personalities as well. Like, I mean, like Cantwell's obviously got a personality about him. He does do a lot of good things with it, but he will get a lot of criticism as well for like social media posts, maybe calling out pundits and stuff like that. And John Lundstram as well. I mean, right, I've said it there. I don't know if you've seen it earlier, but Lundstram's done an interview in Sky earlier where he's basically been asked, "Oh, what's your perception? How do you think Pittodrie?" And he goes, yeah, I love these, tough away grounds when the fans are giving you stick. I love going to Pittodrie. And then he makes a wee joke about them. Oh, I hope they sell out their stadium. That's just like unprovoked. And it's like, what for me, it's like, why are you doing that? Do you know what I mean? Like, for me, you're playing into clubs like Aberdeen's hands here, right? Where you're giving them and feeding them more ammunition because they want to turn this into a rivalry that's bigger than it is. And if you've got a player there that's taking a bait, and a Sky interview where he's not even provoked, what does that say about the rest of the squad? And also as well, we done a thing just before the game where we like delayed coming onto the pitch for like 2 or 3 minutes late coming out, as if to say like, oh aye, we're going to make Aberdeen wait and this, that and the next thing. It's like, why are we trying to play mind games with Aberdeen? Do you know what I mean? Like if it's gone into an old firm game, right, or like a big game in Europe, against a team that's much better than you, fair enough, I can understand you doing wee things to maybe try and get an edge, but doing it against Aberdeen for me is completely embarrassing, especially when you go out and have that start to the game that you did.
Yeah, well, Lundstram, I didn't see the interview, but if he's saying that, he should be saying that before a ball's kicked. I mean, he can come away with that after the game's been won. We could maybe understand it then. The making them wait in the tunnel, there could be other reasons for that. Maybe the managers try to fire them up and just try to get his point across before they go out and really, reiterating the importance of the match. But I mean, you wouldn't have known if that was the case with their performance in the opening minutes.
Can you see how he's saying?
Sorry, Grant, on you go.
See how he was saying that he likes to go to Pittodrie. How many times has he won up there?
Once.
Yeah, this is it.
Oh, there you go.
One game in 4, 1 game in 3 before today. And in that game, it was the Scott Arfield game. Now, obviously, at the time, it's brilliant scoring 2 goals in the last minute against Aberdeen. It meant nothing.
A lot of these guys like to talk. They talk the talk. They can't walk the walk, to use a Steven Gerrardism for years ago. And today was. I mean, I can remember being on a preview pod just before Beale got sacked with Brian. It was before the Aberdeen game, and I without saying it in so many words, I said it was a big game, time to raise a performance and show what we're all about. Yeah, today was doubly that. Them slipping up yesterday, we go look as if we're starting to put the building blocks of a new era in place. Things were going relatively well. First proper test going away from home against a team who I read a stat online, if they hadn't collected the points that they've collected against us this season, we'd be sitting bottom. We'd be sitting lower in the league than Livingston. That's saying something. And we can't put in a level of performance where that I go back to and repeat myself, you're in the middle of the park. Graham Shinnie, as limited as he is allowed to go about and make niggly fouls and statements. If John Lundstram had anything about him in terms of being physical, who he purports to make it as if he's quite a physical player, he put the boot in Graham Shinnie and let him know who's boss in the middle of the park. And yet again, sadly lacking. And these players talk and talk. I mean, I heard something for Tavernier saying we'll learn for this and move on. Or was to that effect. Many times have we heard that one, James? You know what I mean? It's time to deliver. These players will never deliver. And if Philip, I appreciate he's operating under the stringent circumstances with regards to transfer windows, but these players have got previous managers to sack. If he doesn't be careful, he could end up getting the sack them. So I'm kind of a bit scunnered with that level of performance today, as you could probably tell, Craig.
No, I think we are, mate. Grant, you touched on it earlier, the record at Pittodrie. Since 2018-19, and I dug up the stats earlier, so I don't want the audience thinking that it was you that done it. It was me that was masterminding the ones. So since 2018-19, 10 games have been played by Rangers and Celtic at Pittodrie. Celtic have won 8 and drawn 2. They've never lost. since 18-19, or as I like to call it, the Gerrard season when he came in. I think before then it was like kind of fair enough, we were rubbish, we never really challenged, but when Gerrard came in we spent proper money, so I think going from that point on we should be properly challenging. So yeah, from that point on Celtic have won 8, drawn 2. Rangers have got a win record of 40%, 2 losses in there as well, which basically means unshot that since Steven Gerrard came to Ibrox, Celtic have won double the games, get twice as big a win rate as Rangers do at Pittodrie. Now, I'm not going to get into the reasons as to why Celtic's is so high, because I think we all know that anyway, but for me it's about why the Rangers one is so low. Now, Aberdeen, this is a team who in the last, since 2018-19, if you add up all the positions and divide it by the amount of seasons that there's been, they've finished 5th on the average sort of league table. So to have a 40% win record at a team that's 5th in the league, for me that's not acceptable. That's something you would expect at maybe a Celtic Park. Do you know what I mean? If you're getting a 40% record at Celtic Park and you're only losing twice in 4 or 5 years, I think that's a pretty decent record. But a team that's finishing, on average in 5th place in each of those seasons, it's no good enough. And I mentioned it earlier, mate, it's taking these games too seriously. And the problem is it's happening now under 4 managers, which kind of tells me that it's not just an individual manager's problem, but, and we've said it time and time again, it's a problem for the players as well that have been there since.
Yeah, absolutely. You hear this bandied about Pittodrie's a hard place to go. It's a hard place for Rangers to go. Nobody else seems to struggle up there, and over the last 5 years we've struggled time and time again. And I heard Chris Boyd saying a few weeks ago that Aberdeen raised their game. They always do. You see the fans from start to start, they're all up for it. Every tackle's cheered. They're booing our players. We don't see that when they're playing anybody else, and they do get up for these games. The fans get up for it, and it translates into the players. And it's been like that since the 80s, 90s, since the Durant tackle and that kind of stuff. So I can't put my finger on it. I've never enjoyed going up to Pittodrie. I've been there many times. I think I've only had a couple of wins, so I don't know what it is. They just seem to the same players seem to just freeze. I can't put my finger on it. If I could, I'd be a millionaire. So yeah, I don't understand that. I really don't.
It's as I was saying, it's a pattern, David. You know what I mean? It's the same players time and time again. As I say, that record under 4 managers, for me, it's got to be those senior players, because they are the ones that have been there for that period of time. They are the common denominator here.
They don't. They've just not got it, Craig. I think it's. I think we can dance around the subject, and make excuses and factor in mitigating excuses. It's just the same guys are basically there. They're on the side. They cannot go over the line. Is it a mental thing? They're just not good enough. I mean, they can't. Look at, I go through the team today. The goalkeeper was okay. They misplaced a ball. I think Barisic gave him a pass back, or Golson gave him a pass back, and he squirted the ball out the touch line, or out the sideline, I should say. Tav was his usual trying to limited effect. The centre halves, don't know what they were doing in that opening quarter, an hour, 20 minutes. Then after that, they seem to settle down. The left back was the left back, Thought at some point the second half thought he could shoot his right foot, which was a joke. And then that middle of the park, I said right at my first answer, one-paced stuff. Jose Cifuentes, one-paced, struggling to get up to speed. How he plays international football, man, he looks like one of the geriatrics from one of the Bartley adverts, walking about, a square of AstroTurf. Tom Lawrence is obviously, he's scratching for match sharpness. You can tell he's labouring. John Lundstrom again. So Lundstrom had a couple of games ago looked like the Lundstrom on the run to Seville. And then the day he's just completely, it's like, you're watching, you're going, like, what's he doing? Some of the stuff, the misplaced passes, getting caught out of position, basically ball watching, just stuff. I mean, the manager must have been standing there twistling, going, I thought we'd maybe possibly turned a corner with some of these players. I mean, I know he said there during the week of his press conference that there's a major surgery required, or he alluded to that fact about, too many players in one position and the squad imbalance, that type of stuff. Well, he's got a job on him. He'll know the day, he'll know the night that he's got a lot of work to do. And it's back to these exacting pressures that we mentioned the previous transfer windows with Ross Wilson and Mick Beale and even Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. They can't ill afford to make mistakes. So I think I've said over a period of seasons that there's some of these players have basically dined out in that 55 title, the COVID season, for too long, and they need swapped out. And there's players who are underperforming. There's players with too many of them have got big tips for themselves in there, Craig. And it's time that the decks were cleared. I appreciate it's difficult for the manager to do it in one window or even a couple of windows, but you need to start phasing players out, because these players have had ample opportunity to deliver silverware and perform in big games and deliver big results that can throw down the gauntlet to our pals across town, and they've failed and come up short time and time again. It's time for change.
Well, this is the thing as well, like, we've seen Celtic this season, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch now. I don't think Celtic have started the season particularly well. I mean, they've got a pretty good record so far. Obviously, they're unbeaten, but, some of their performances have been really laboured. And I think most of the results have been down to other teams being bad rather than them being good. And trust me, most of them were not happy with Brendan Rodgers coming back. And obviously there's a lot of off-the-field stuff going on now with different things that are happening and all that. So, like, for a club that's had all this success for the last, 10, 15 years, they are not a happy fan base. And I said the other day that if we can get our act together and we can have a sustained period of success, we've seen them have meltdowns the year we won the league, sort of mini meltdowns. If we can have sustained success, it can break them. The problem is we're not doing it. We're giving them every single, or should I say, every single opportunity that we give them, we just throw it back in their face. And it's happened consistently, over the last sort of 3-4 years. And I'm getting sick of it, to be quite honest. It seems to be the same story. It's like, every few months, these players will go out and they'll have a good sort of 5 or 6 games, and then, it'll be a couple of bad results and we're back to square one. So it was a big thing for me today. It's like, obviously you're leading an equaliser at Pittodrie. Danilo's not really been in the game, and you've got a striker there in Dessers who cost, £4.5 million, who, as much as his performances haven't been great, he's actually had a decent scoring record since the new manager came in fairness to him, and he can provide something different. He's not even getting a sniff. Guy that costs £4.5 million. You've got a guy in Lammers who costs £3.5 million, squandering a brilliant chance right at the end to win the game. For me, when you're needing to get back into the game, Grant, when you're not bringing on a £4.5 million striker, and you're bringing on like a 20-year-old young winger, who, even though I did say he should start, like, at the end of the day, that's kind of that's still what he is. He's 20 years old. He's not got a lot of experience. When you're going for guys like that instead of a £4 million striker, there's got to be a problem up there.
Yeah, it just highlights the problem. The transfers in the summer, we just spent so much money on players. It's the same kind of players for the same positions, and didn't address what we actually needed. We've been needing a new left back and a new right wing for about 3 years now, or something like that, right winger, and we've just not done it. The recruitment in the summer was shocking, it really was. And I summed up perfectly. If you can't bring Dessers on when you're leading a goal, then there's something far wrong. But I thought Clement actually made the subs too late today. I think we was crying out for half time, maybe even 50, 55 minutes. He left it too late. He had 20 minutes left. He brought Matondo on, but he should have changed that a lot earlier, because you can see Aberdeen were tiring, and we could have pushed on and maybe got a couple of goals late on. But mate, it's just so frustrating. Like, You touched on there about Celtic. They have been poor. I mean, they're only really 5 points ahead of us, and we've had an absolute shocking start to the season. So it shows you they're not all great shakes either, and they're there to be got at. But yeah, today's just so frustrating me. Like, it was a massive chance for us to get back into the title race, and we blew it again. The same players letting us down. You can change the manager as many times as you like, but the same guys are continually letting us down, and I totally agree with David there.
No, you're right. David, in terms of moving forward, like, obviously we've got the January window coming up now. I don't know what the manager's going to be given in January, especially with the summer that we just had, and obviously we've just sacked another manager, had to pay him off, and we're having to pay a new guy to come in as well. You know, I don't know what our budget's going to be, what he's going to have to play with, but for me, a new striker has got to be like top of your priorities now. I said last week that, and I was just being realistic here, right? I would like Lawrence Shankland to come in, right? I think he'd be a decent enough player for us, right? At the right price. But I didn't see it happening because, you know, at the end of the day, we've got Dessers, we've got Danilo, we've got Lammers, we've got Roof all in the books at the moment. So if you're the Rangers board, can we really afford to turn around and say, go and spend another £2 million on another striker when you've got probably the best part of like $100,000 a week and they 4 players? And, you know, he's obviously no fancy in Dessers. Lammers is now making his way out the team now that Lawrence is fit. Roof. The only one that's playing is Danilo, and even then Danilo's been pretty good this season at times, but still looks a bit raw. He's the type of guy that you need to create maybe 3 or 4 chances a game for him to actually score them. Like, you seen the 2 chances he had today, and they were kind of half-hearted attempts. Like, he was never going to score them, but it was kind of like building up to hopefully he can get a chance that he can eventually put away. What would you say the targets and the priorities have got to be in January? Obviously, money permitting.
Well, he's obviously got several areas of the team to address. That goes without saying. Grant's mentioned a left back and a right-sided wide player, hopefully somebody with pace. I think to briefly rewind to the substitutions, I think that most people watching the game today would have thought that maybe around about the 55, 60th minute was time to make changes. I can only assume that the manager didn't make those changes because he's not got the requisite level of quality on the bench available to him to make those changes, even though he'd probably like to make them. And that speaks volumes about the state of the squad, to echo Grant's comments. So, you mentioned Lawrence Shankland there, Craig. Lawrence Shankland is a proven goal scorer in Scottish football. He couldn't be any worse than Cyril Dessers. He couldn't be any worse than Sam Lammers. He's seen a passage of play when Lammers, he got in the ball close to our fans near the approaching the box, and he made a kind of crazy choice to go outside the box instead of coming into the box. And you see that, and you look at Lammers and you think, I've heard people saying, you know, he's a technical player and what have you. He just looks like a player that's probably been pushed about and tried in so many positions where any talent that he's had has been kind of knocked out of him, and all his decision making his wirings kind of went awry. You know, it's like he's all over the place. These guys, we can all afford. You mentioned there that the money's involved. We can all afford no playing those types of players in the squad. They'd be relatively senior given the outlay upon them. You mentioned Kemar Roof as well. I mean, Kemar Roof, they're as well tearing up his contract in January and just coming to an agreement and paying him off, because you mentioned there how much money can Rangers afford. I mean, look at it the other way. How much Rangers, how you know, if Rangers don't spend money, what's going to the knock-on effect of no spending money going to be? You know, there's every likelihood the Charlies will get unfettered access to Champions League monies until we get serious. I mean, today, you're probably, the listeners are probably thinking he's hysterical here. But today was cemented for me. It encapsulated the mismanagement of the club for the past 2 years, because that was a glorious opportunity to go up there, give Dolly a good shoeing, get revenge for a month, 6 weeks ago, and put a marker down and let them know across the road that we are in town and we mean business. What did they do? They turned up as if it was like a pre-season friendly. And for that opening quarter an hour, it was inexcusable. To get back to the point that you're asking me, Philip's got a job on. He must have identified players or areas of the team that he needs to address. Can he get the players in January? It's going to be a tough ask, a very tough ask, because we know, everybody knows that the January's, strictly speaking, it's not the time when clubs, agents or players like to move about. So, the pressures are exacting on him. I'm not trying to pile pressure on the manager, far from it. But he's the pressures are exacting. He's got to, I've used that phrase time and time again, he can ill afford to make mistakes. So let's just hope that number one, Philip can spot a player, and number two, that the club back him to the levels required to at least run Celtic close in the second half of the season. Now, obviously, there's games to go between now and Parkhead. A lot can change, obviously. But if that today was a barometer of what we can expect when the chips are down, especially in the cup final, League Cup final, you're looking on at that and you're going, this, oh God, I mean, the guy's not a miracle worker. These players fundamentally need swapped out. So whether he's got the nous to do it, in a gradual manner and still got a tune out of certain players, keep them on side, that's out of management, and let's just hope that he can deliver.
I mean, see the weird thing about this as well, it's like, see if we go into this game having to win it and stuff like that after watching Celtic slip up, see if that's Philip Clement's squad, I don't think we're going in there with that performance today, and I think we would have went there the day and won comfortably. If that's his players it's in. See if this game was in, like, I don't know, March or something like that, after he's had a good January, if he does get a good January. I think if that's his players under his management, we go there and we would have stuffed them. But for me, it's just because he's dealing with it, this same group of players, and time again they've let us down. There's no excuse for it, because when you look at it, for the last 5 years, we have, for the most part, at least matched Celtic's outlet in terms of wages. Now, we can all talk about like the financial disparities and all that. At the end of the day, we've got a bigger wage bill than them just now, I'm pretty sure. So we can't sit here and talk about financial disparities when we're spending at least the same amount of money as they are on players. And we are, at the moment, and for the last couple of seasons, just being so far behind them. For me, it seems to be like the business area of Rangers is doing relatively well, but the one department that matters, the football department, that's the part that's been just completely mismanaged the last 2 or 3 years. And, if you look at some of the relatively small losses we've made this year, and obviously we made a profit last year, but if you can imagine we actually went and invested that money, Grant, into good, decent players in a transfer market, into this, 4 pillar that everybody talks about, would be absolutely fine. But the last 2 or 3 years, it's just been completely awful. I mean, David mentioned Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. I think, in fairness to Gio, I don't think he was signing any of the players that he brought in. I think that was just Ross Wilson, to be honest. And then they gave the keys to Ibrox to Michael Beale, and he still couldn't break the door down. Like, I mean, it's madness that. And this board as well, like, I know it's a slightly different board, obviously, to King and whatnot, but, these group of people, they seem to make the same mistake since they've came in. And it's like they give the most amount of responsibility, they give the most amount of money to people that you can't trust to spend that money. So, for example, they never gave Warburton anything to spend after he had a relatively good season. And then as soon as Celtic have an invincible treble, they kind of go, oh, wait a minute, we need to actually go and spend money. They panic, they bring in Pedro Caixinha, and then they give him, 10 million quid to spend. When if they gave that to Matt Warburton, Now, I'm not saying Mark Warburton would have been a success in the long run, but you would have got probably a lot more success from what we did those 2 years anyway. And then when Pedro fails, we bring Gerrard in, or we panic, we need to spend more money. And then because we don't win the league again, the next year we need to go and spend more money. And then eventually we get it right, 2021. But it's taken us at that point with Gerrard 3 years to get to that point. And then as soon as he goes, just before he went, we brought in Ross Wilson, who, let's be honest, they'll say had a good track record at Southampton. A lot of people would say he was kind of living off the back of other people's deals. People mentioned Van Dijk. Van Dijk was sold to Liverpool after before Ross Wilson came in. So I don't know how people give him credit for that one. They gave him all sorts of money to spend. You've got a guy in Giovanni Van Bronckhorst who knows football, he knows the Dutch market really well. You don't give him any money to spend in terms of his players, and then as soon as that's done, that project's failed domestically, Grant. Michael Beale's came in, we've panicked again, we've got a guy back that knows the club, he knows the players. I just gave him the money to go and spend. I mean, the recruitment at this club for at least 3 years now. I mean, we have not had a good window since summer 2020 when we brought in Roof, Itten, Hadji, and I think we get Zungu and loan. But I mean, you kind of suppose you're always going to get players like that, but the recruitment, Grant, the last 3 years has just been dreadful, and that's the thing as well. There's no excuse for it because we have spent money. It's not as if we're going out and penny pinching. We're going out and we're spending big money, and we're not getting the results.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on, Craig. It's been a vicious circle since '55. That was the time to go and spend the money, and they were struggling, and we were flying. That was the time to go and spend the money, build on the success, but we never done it. We penny pinched. And Gerrard basically was crying out for money. He said that publicly, and probably attributed to him leaving. But the last 2 or 3 years, we've wasted so much money. You're talking, Yilmaz Davies, 8 million quid? Dessers, Lammers, another 8 million quid. Even Ramsey on loan. It's just, the recruitment's been absolutely shocking. And as you said, who's scouting these guys? Who's picking these guys? It was obviously Ross Wilson before, then it was Beale this summer. It's been a shambles for 2 to 3 years, and they talk about the fourth pillar. How many sellable assets have we actually got? Who could we sell for money now? I mean, you saw we made a slight profit last year, but that was with selling Bassey, selling Aribo, Champions League money. Where are we going to plug these gaps going forward? And we need success on the park, because then it'll obviously be better off the park. And I just don't know what we do here. We've spent 10, 15 million this summer there. We're not going to get any money back for Dessers. We're not going to get any money back for Lammers. I mean, they're in their twilight. Well, maybe not so much Lammers, but Dessers, you're not going to get in back for him. Roof's in huge money. I mean, I just don't know who our saleable assets are right now. We've got an aging backline which is going to need upgrading. It's just, it's not looking great, mate. And was it 4 or 5 out of contract in the summer as well? So, yeah, I just hope Clement's get a couple of players up his sleeve, even in Belgium or something like that, to come in and hit the ground running in January and keep us in this title race.
I mean, we're supposedly making a director of football appointment as well in the next couple of weeks. If that's the path that the club wanted to go down now, I know a lot of people like a director of football. I'm not 100% convinced that it works, because I think, people talk about if you give the manager the keys to the stadium, then what if the manager leaves? But it's the exact same as a director of football. What if you give him the keys to the stadium and then he leaves? So for me, it carries the same risk. But at the end of the day, if that's the route the club want to go down, fine. Make that decision. Go for it. Get an appointment in. I mean, when did Ross Wilson leave? March? April? I say leave. I mean, he was basically forced out the doors with all the crosses through his face at Fir Park, wasn't he? But 9 months you're talking about without a director of football. Come on, he's the type of guy that's worked under one before. For me, David, it's I think you've got a guy there in Clement who, he obviously knows football. He's an experienced enough player, played internationally, played at a very good level. He's had success as a manager in better leagues in Scotland, and he done okay in France at Monaco as well for the most part. I personally think Bisgrove, Bennett, the board should just go to Clement and say, look, mate, what do you want to do with the footballing department? Just go to him and say, do you think we should get a director? Do you think we should do this? Do you think we should do that? Because the guy clearly is impressive enough, he's professional enough, and he's gotten results before. So if you're wanting to get guys in that are going to upgrade the footballing department, for me, you need to trust the manager with that one. And I think you're backing a much more proven prospect in Clement if you're doing that with him, clearly, than what you had with Beale a few months ago.
Well, it depends on what the club's strategy is. Does the club believe in an ethos where they need a director of football to carry through a common thread through the football club at all levels, with the academy right through the first team? That appeared to have been, I don't know about so much as ditched, but it had been temporarily suspended under Mick Beale. Whether that was all part of this rationalisation drive by John Bennett, I don't know. Leave that for other people to answer. But yeah, it's one of those, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you see the manager as the main person of the football club, other than the owners in inverted commas, then it's a case of sticking or twisting whether you actually back him wholesale. Does he try and inculcate that commonality, a thread from the academy through the first team, or is that separate from a coach stroke manager? So it's how the club sees itself being run, certainly for the next, I would say, 5 years now. If you guys will correct me here, Philippe Clement's got a contract for, is it 3 years? Is it 4 years?
Not sure, to be honest. I mean,
right.
They probably would have done it because Ross Wilson was weird because he used to never put down how long players have signed contracts for, and I think they've continued that trend. So I'm not actually sure, to be honest, but I would imagine at least 3.5 years.
Right. So let's work on the basis of 3 years. You'll probably have an optional year written into that. Then it's a case of do we back this guy for 3 years? Now, this makes the decision to back Mick Beale all the more bewildering, because I think I'm right in saying that Mick Beale was on a 3-year deal. So they've obviously thought, right, well, we're looking 3 years ahead. We see fit to furnish Michael with the tools that he has sought to enable him to do the job to the best of his ability. He came in and said he didn't need a director of football. He could do all the due diligence had been done in terms of the signing targets, presumably aided and abetted by Ross Wilson. And so, maybe doing the kind of groundwork. To then do that, you've got to follow through. But they did that with an unproven coach, a guy that hadn't earned his managerial spurs, albeit, he knew the club for a previous position. So, to back Philip Clement for a 3-year period minimum makes more sense, because he's got more bona fides behind him in terms of what he's done in the game. So you'd be more inclined to back him wholesale in terms of trying to drive that ethos through the club. But businessmen being businessmen, they're always hedging. They've hedged. I mean, Grant mentioned there about the missed opportunity after the 55 season. They used the phrase penny pinching. They're hedging. The businessmen always hedge. They've always got an exit strategy. So they want a card kept up their sleeve. So does that necessarily translate into how much they're going to back the manager? It's a $64,000 question, Craig. So does he deserve to be backed? I would say, the early signs would tend to suggest that he's got more. You should place more faith in him than we placed in Michael Beale. So if we afforded Michael Beale £15 million net spend, regardless of the whys and wherefores, what was spent and blah, 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 £15 million minimum should be afforded to Philip Clement. Is he going to get a chance to spend that in January? Highly unlikely. So you look at what they've done in the summer, that set the club back at least 2 transfer windows. And it's going to take that length of time to get us back, a fighting chance of things coming together and gelling unless Philip is, a miracle worker. And we'll be placing unfair expectations on him. But to get back to what you originally asked me, it's whether the club's strategy is to drive a common ethos right through the whole organisation. And that seems to have been, they've almost shelved it temporarily because of the exacting pressure to deliver, because they can't afford that time. I mean, you can rewind back to Walter Smith when he was quizzed about no giving youth a chance, and Walter more or less explained away saying we don't have that time. You need to win constantly. These are the strictures that you work under at Rangers, and Philip's getting if he hasn't realised already, which I'm sure he has, because he strikes me as quite a switched on guy, he'll certainly know the day after the day's result, and he'll know that he basically can't afford to put too many feet wrong. And I would back him. You mentioned Lawrence Shankland. I would go and sign Lawrence Shankland, because you know what you're getting. You've got a guy that knows the league, he knows the defenders that he's going to be up against. And let's face it, see any time he's played against us, he's looked like a Rangers class player. Certainly when you compare him with likes of Sam Lammers and Cyril Dessers, and dare I say it, Danilo. Because Danilo was running about, doing a lot of harrying. When the ball dropped his feet a couple of times, he didn't really look like a natural goal scorer. Lawrence Shankland, say what you like, he's one-paced, he's not particularly fast, but he knows where the goal is, and he can score. So is he worthy of outlay? Is it a case of snobbery amongst the support about whether he's good enough? Look at Lewis Ferguson. Been linked with Juventus. Bologna came out. Marco De Vaio's came out apparently over the weekend, said he's no for sale at any price. These are the types of players, especially blue noses, that know what a game like today is involved, what it requires, and will run through brick walls to deliver 3 points for the jersey.
No, definitely. It's weird you mentioned Danilo there, because Stephen, you look at Danilo, a lot of the times it reminds me of Morelos, his first season, in terms of some of his finishing and his movement and stuff like that. And he's a bit raw, I think, as well. The problem is, Morelos cost an Algie quid and was 20 when we signed him. Danilo's 24 now. He cost 6 million. So it's you need to get the results now. But I think we'll leave Sunday anyway now, because we need to go on to more positive things. We've got a game on Thursday. Obviously, Grant, Aris Limassol, if we win, we're through, aren't we? So pretty straightforward. We can go on to the last game against Betis a wee bit more relaxed, or maybe know if you're going to take that top spot seriously. What do you think the team should be? Because from a personal point of view, I would stick another winger in there. I think Matondo done enough to probably merit a start after his performance today. I thought he'd done decent enough when he came on. Sima, could it be time to maybe give him a wee rest? He never looked up to par today. His last couple of games, he's not really been great. So for me, I'd probably go Matondo, McCausland, stick with Danilo up front. Midfield, I don't know if you can play Lundstrom again after the day. I wouldn't. So I'll just go Cifuentes, Lawrence, and I'll give Cantwell a run out at number 10 to see how he can do. The back five will stay the same apart for Davies and for Balogun, because of the Balogun's not in the European squad. So how do you see the game going, and what do you think the squad's going to be for it, mate?
Yeah, I would definitely go with the pace up top. We saw Overnaris actually; they've got pace up top, and they absolutely destroyed us with two guys up top. Goodbye Tavernier. So I would go with the pace. Matondo only got 20 minutes today. Give us 60 minutes from the start. Sima as well. He has been struggling the last few weeks. Maybe just too much football. We're relying on him a bit too much. So I would maybe try Matondo on the left, McCaws on the right, Danilo up top. Obviously, the midfield. I would love to see Cantwell and Lawrence put in there with somebody, but it seems to be we play two sitting midfielders no matter what the game is. So I wouldn't be surprised if Lundstrom was in beside Cifuentes, because we just really don't have any other options just now. With Raskin being out and Jack being out as well. But I would love to see Lawrence and Cantwell in the kind of attacking roles in the centre of the park. Davis will come back in as well. Not really get many more options. The team's really been picking itself the last few weeks. There's no many options to take out. So yeah, couple of changes, but Aris have been doing well. I checked the results before I came on, and they just beat Applewell, who are top of the league, so they've just went joint top. But we should really be winning this game at home comfortably, and that'll be us home and dry. Maybe Sparta could do us a wee favour as well at home to Betis. So we just need to wait and see. But I fancy us strongly at home, especially at home, 2 or 3-0.
Aye, I think so as well, David. I mean, look, the last game against Aris was obviously a complete and utter embarrassment, but they have spent a fair few bob, to be fair to them, but I still don't think they looked that good, to be honest. I just think that we were, the makers of our own downfall that night. I think, we're going into this game, as much as today's performance, and obviously we've had a moan about it, I think if we play even the way we did today on Thursday, I think we'll probably come away with a comfortable win, because I can't see Aris getting up for it quite as much as Aberdeen did against Rangers. What do you think the team should be? And bear in mind, it's what you think the team should be. There's no realism here. So it's completely your opinion.
Right. I'll start off by trying to be positive. I'll put my positive hat on for once in this pod.
Dust it off.
If they play like they did in the first half against Sparta at Ibrox, I think we should be okay. However, if they show signs of what they showed today in that first half, it'll be a tricky game, because as Grant rightly mentioned, they've got a couple of speedy guys in their side. They're assuming that the same kind of similar lineup takes to the field for them on Thursday. Then they've got players that can cause Rangers problems if we have an off night. And regards to the starting lineup, I'll side with you, Craig, on this one. I'd be tempted to move Todd Cantwell into the centre and see if it can affect the game, because for me, it's like, I don't want to repeat myself and bore the listeners to tears here. This team is largely ineffectual. If he can be effectual in a Rangers jersey, and it needs to be in the number 10 position, then play him there. But the manager presumably must, he must have a fear about the defensive side of when out of possession on the right-hand side. He must require some cover for Tavernier, and he must be reluctant to expose a young boy. He's obviously trying to go inside to get him to sign a contract where he could potentially make the boy look stupid. When they want him to sign a contract because he'd be asked to do a job to cover for Tavernier when out of possession on a quick transition. Is Tom Lawrence got the fitness to play in Europe? I'd question that. Should he play some part in the game? Undoubtedly, because we need him. And I'm assuming that Ryan Jack's not going to be fit. So I think the kind of middle of the park picks itself. I wouldn't start the game with Cifuentes unless absolutely necessary. The back line tends to pick itself. Obviously, you mentioned there that Ben Davis will come in for Liam Balogun. So I think Connor Goldson needs to severely up his game and switch on right for the first whistle, which he didn't look. He looked very, very shaky today. I don't know whether there was. I don't know if you guys maybe picked on this, but I thought they looked lethargic today again. Now, I don't know whether in this 2 weeks period if he's been doing a lot of physical work with them and maybe just a hangover. Hopefully that doesn't carry on into Thursday. But going forward, we need to chance creation. You've seen Danilo today; he was living off scraps, and we need chance creation. To come back to another thing that Grant mentioned, the pace of Matondo. That's how bad it is. Where we need to bring in the pace of Arabi Matondo. Now don't get me wrong, I agree with you, Craig. I thought Matondo played quite well today. I mean, he clipped a nice ball into Lammers, and Lammers, that header was, it was schoolboy stuff. Could even direct into the side net. Sitter in my book. So if Rabi can bring that kind of level Connor Golson suspended on Thursday.
Oh, I've just seen that. Interesting.
Forgetting all about that may well be
in
case of Lundstrom playing at the back.
Well, Suter's fit, so he'll probably play Suter.
Hopefully Suter will be fit and no makes Lundstrom play there. Forgot about that. Cheers, Frankie. So we need to create chances and we need pace to try and get behind them. So I just hope the manager picks the right starting 11 and we can start the house and file like we did against Prague. Because realistically, in our first half, we should have been 4-0 up against Sparta Prague. And if we can play like that, then hopefully the game will take care of itself.
Aye, hopefully. Hopefully we do start like a house on fire, but hopefully he knows that Golson's suspended, otherwise we might end up finding ourselves kicked out the competition or something like that. That would just be a luck, wouldn't it? But I think that'll be us for today. Anyway, thanks as always to the guests at home. Obviously, it's not been an easy one tonight. I never get picked for the easy ones, do I? I'm always frustrated about it when there's been a wee bit of a downer, but we're here as always. If you're watching this on YouTube, guys, you can rewind back to the start at any point if you want to see us from there. And at some point tomorrow, it'll be up on all your usual podcast providers as well, like iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. We'll be back on Friday to cover the game against Aris on Thursday and preview Sunday's game against St Mirren at Ibrox. That'll be Brian and Alec who'll be doing that on Friday, and Alec will of course be giving you your post-match reaction after Thursday's European tie as well. So thanks to the guests at home. Grant, thanks for coming on, mate. Enjoyed it.
Cheers, mate. Enjoyed it. Yep.
David, thanks for your positivity tonight as ever, mate.
No bother, Craig. Cheers.
No, it's been good. And thanks to all the guests at home. We'll see you soon, guys. Bye-bye.